If you want to create a consistent character today in Midjourney, this is the best and fastest method that I know of. Create a pose sheet with 3 side-by-side versions of your character that match each other extremely well. Turn that pose sheet into 6 C-refs. To do that, 3 of the C-refs will be screenshots of just the character's face. The other 3 will be the character's full body, or as much of it as you've generated so far. This is important to understand. Your character will not look exactly like this. The C-refs are good for character design, but they are not sufficient for character consistency. The next thing I highly recommend is turning on a mood board. For a consistent character, you don't want to see huge variation in your art style. A well-constructed mood board will solve this. When that's done, you want to write a simple prompt with very minimal description. Something that's vague enough to create a wide variety of scenes for your characters. You'll make sure you set all of those as C-refs, and here you'll add the parameter --repeat 5. This will give you 20 generations, 20 images, to see all the different ways that Midjourney might interpret your C-refs. From the results, take note about what seems right, and more importantly, what seems to be varying wildly. To solve these things, the things that Midjourney gets wrong, you want to find simple ways to describe that thing so that Midjourney can only interpret it one way. This could be just the eye color. Make sure you mention brown eyes. It could be a description of the clothing or accessories. It can even make sense to describe the shape of someone's face. It might help to open up Google. Keep in mind there's a name for most haircuts that you might want your character to have. If they're wearing a suit or a dress, there's almost certainly a name for that article of clothing and that cut. If you describe each aspect carefully so that there is only one interpretation, your character will get more and more consistent the more you add to this prompt. We want a prompt that is scene and action independent. Literally so that it fits nicely at the end of any other prompt you might write. We'll call this your suffix. Take your prompt from earlier and run it again with this suffix. Figure out what's missing now. What is Midjourney getting wrong? We're going to take note of it, describe it, and narrow in on a suffix that doesn't leave any room for Midjourney to misinterpret your idea. Sometimes this takes 1, 2, or 3 times, but you're going to need to repeat this process until reliably a majority of your roles in Midjourney generate your character correctly. The better the suffix is, the more accurate the likeness of your character will be, and they'll start looking the same with every generation you write. You might have to get a little creative. For this girl, I had to describe her crown as a plain golden metal hairband, so it would stop adding flourishes to it. But you also need to be careful not to describe anything that's incompatible with your C-ref, because it'll lead to that high likelihood that Midjourney will just refuse to do it. From here, if you've gotten this figured out and you have a high quality suffix, you're ready to take one of these generations as a guide to save it as your character in your Midjourney account. Click More, Copy, then Copy Prompt. Doing that saves a bit of text to your clipboard that includes everything you've done so far, including the C-refs themselves in the form of a parameter with links. Normally they look like images, and now it's just a bunch of text. Having that copied lets you take it into Discord, because Discord is the only place you're able to save a prefer option named after your character. To the Midjourney bot, we're going to type /prefer option set. Under option, type your character's name, make sure this has no spaces and it's not an existing Midjourney parameter, click tab twice, and under value, paste what you copied. Now you'll just clean up the prompt a little bit. You only want the part that will be a valid suffix for any prompt you might want your character to be a part of. You can remove the part that describes the scene. You should definitely remove the aspect ratio if there is one. Don't touch the C-ref links, or you can break it entirely. And when you're done, click enter. Here, you've defined a custom parameter based on your character's name. You've seen I've been working on my character, Hannah, the elven princess with purple hair. So now that I've defined this parameter, I can come back to Midjourney, and now whenever I want to generate her, I can use --Hannah, and my entire suffix, including the C-refs, comes into Midjourney. Let's say I have an image of a bear chasing a kid that I kind of like the feel of. If I want Hannah to be getting chased instead, I can go to Remix Strong, adjust the prompt a little so it's describing a princess instead of a little kid, and add --Hannah to the end. I'll add another parameter, quality 2, so that Midjourney can spend a little bit more of its GPU resources on the image. And doesn't she look great? Notice though, the composition isn't quite the same as the original. This only works so well because Hannah's face is clear and a big part of the generation. If I had simply edited the boy out of this scene in the editor and tried to replace it with Hannah, even with the exact same prompt, well, the results look like a budget, unrefined version of the character. A little deformed and a little bit ugly. This problem comes from a concept that I refer to as prominence. Most people ignore this, but it's probably one of the most important things to understand about how Midjourney generates characters. This CREF-focused prompt is great for getting the likeness right, when the character's face is close up and an important part of the image. But if the character is further away or a little bit smaller, Midjourney is going to do a much worse job. My mood board style does help remind Midjourney to keep the prominence high because every reference in it has characters in this expressive close-up position in the scenes. Because that's how my style is defined, almost every image I generate with the mood board on really lets CREF shine. And saying this about prominence shouldn't make you feel locked into a particular composition. Even though your original generation needs to be this close up, that doesn't mean you're stuck here. Once your character's likeness is generated, you can absolutely work your way out with a few more generations in Midjourney. Go into the editor and zoom out on the scene. This time though, I want Midjourney to put its GPU power into making the scene great instead of spending all its time thinking about what Hannah looks like. And so, this time I'll be taking out the CREFs. Here's the side-by-side of what the results would be with and without the CREFs for this zoom out, and you can absolutely see how Midjourney allows itself to be much more creative with the rest of the scene when it's removed. And also, it doesn't try to force your character's face where it doesn't belong, which happened in the other 3 generations with CREF in there. So now we have this image. So now that the creative scene is locked in and you don't need to generate her face again, this is a fine time to use --Hannah again and bring the CREFs back in to fix the costume pieces and really finish polishing the character in this full body scene. And that's it. Now you have all the steps to create your character by themselves in any scene you'd like, starting close up for the best likeness and working your way out to define the composition and background. From here, it's easy to imagine how, with a little bit of careful juggling of prominence, you can follow all the same steps I just showed you for a second character. And by ensuring both faces are well balanced in the scene, you can use the editor to fix and replace one face at a time and edit both characters into the same image. By taking it slow and letting yourself do a few extra generations, you can get really good likeness for both characters. Obviously, my expressive animation mood board did a lot of the heavy lifting for sticking to this gorgeous Pixar-inspired style. The multiplied character mood board also really simplifies creating those original 3-panel references I used at the beginning. I hope it's clear that the steps I showed you will work for any style you're working with, but if you like this style and want to support the work I do, you can purchase this mood board off my website using the link in the description. Both of these 2 mood boards come as a package deal, or if, for free, you just want to learn more about how these mood boards work, I highly recommend you watch this video next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.